Hey guys, Naders here. And with the Joker revealed as the new character for MultiVersus, I've been thinking, what other villains could we see in MultiVersus? And to take a step further, if MultiVersus has a story mode and we got to fight bosses from different Warner properties, what characters would be neat to include in that? I think all of the characters covered in this video would be awesome to see as playable characters as well. Actually, most of these characters are characters that I personally would love to see get in the game. This video is just over some fun villain characters Warner has and some ideas I had for them. Just to put it into perspective how difficult this is, as of 2022, Warner has released 12,500 films. I have to narrow this down to maybe like 15, and that's not even including the hundreds of shows that Warner has made. But specifically for this video, I am going to just do villains who come from movies, with one exception. I may do a TV show version of this in the future, but to keep this video from being half an hour long, I'll just be sticking to movies. I'll first go over the two iffy picks. I say iffy because their rights are questionable. Firstly, I think Lord Voldemort would be a great boss, but I do have one thing to admit. I actually have never seen Harry Potter. But, that being said, I think I can assume how Voldemort would work as a boss. I think he would use his magic. After all, from what I have gathered, he is a wizard. He can also fly. So maybe he could fly across a stage and stop at certain points and fire something out of his wand. This is a really weird comparison, but I kind of imagine it being similar to Alien Hominid. The first boss in that game runs back and forth and shoots a laser. I think it could be similar to this, but instead of flying back and forth, he could fly to random spots on the stage. It could maybe have a pattern or completely be random. And this is all speculation, because we have no idea how bosses could work in MultiVersus. It could be a whole character with moves that are set to a difficult computer level that you have to beat. Overall, I think that Voldemort could be a boss that flies around the stage, shooting you with his wand, trying to kill you. The second character would be Sauron from Lord of the Rings. And here's the thing, I've watched Lord of the Rings. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. That being said, I don't think I fully understood everything that happened in it. I think Sauron has some potential. He could swing his staff like he does in that one fight scene and be a slow, heavy boss. But is that enough for a boss? Maybe he could wear the One Ring and turn invisible. He's never really seen doing this in the movie, but both Gollum and Frodo have been. Speaking of which, if Sauron is not the boss, I'd absolutely love it to be Gollum. I have no idea why, but I love the little dude. And to be honest, considering him being a bad guy makes me sort of sad, because I'd like to think that he mostly has good intentions. The dude just wanted his ring for Pete's sake. I'd imagine Gollum could fish slap you, turn invisible, and be a pretty fast, smaller boss. With those two out of the way, I can now go over some characters that would hopefully have an easier time of making it into the game. Let's first start off with a fun one. I think that Lord Business from the Lego Movie would be such a cool boss. I think that he could stomp around the stage shooting the Craggle at players. Maybe if a player happens to be above him, then the mugs on his hat could spit fire out and attack them. And to be honest, there isn't much more to be said about him. I think he would be such an amazing and neat inclusion and would bring some life to the game. The next villain that I would love to see would have to be Pennywise. I think he would be such an amazing boss. His shape-shifting abilities could make him a really fun boss to fight against. He could maybe turn into that giant spider thing from It Chapter 2. He just has so many possibilities. You could incorporate his deadlights somehow. Maybe they could be a dodgeable thing where you have to avoid getting caught in the deadlights. If you do get caught in the deadlights, you have to mash buttons to escape. To make this actually mean something, maybe the match could be timed so that the deadlights are actually, well, deadly. I have a pretty good feeling that the devs could make Pennywise be a really fun boss, as well as a really fun playable character for MultiVersus. The next character that I would like to cover as a possible boss would have to be the Wicked Witch of the West. I'd imagine she could use her monkey minion things to attack you, while she stays back commanding them. If a monkey happens to grab you, it will fly upward with you. Well, all the other monkeys swarm around and start to attack you. You can mash out, however. Once you kill all the monkeys, you can then go and attack the witch and kill her. It's a fairly simple boss, but I do think it would be fun. And again, if the battles are timed, then you really want to avoid being grabbed by the monkeys. This makes it a little difficult. The next boss that I would like to see is a very recent villain. In fact, his movie came out this year. That character being Scar King from Godzilla x Kong. For anyone who hasn't seen this movie yet, I'll just let you know ahead of time, this guy is menacing. What I'm about to say will spoil some of the movie, so feel free to skip ahead to the next character. I think that Scar King would use his bone whip thingy and attack you. Maybe once you get close to killing Scar King, he will bring out Shimo, who will then team with him and attack and fight against you. I think this would be unique and showcase yet another movie from Warner's properties. You're probably realizing that I'm not spending much time on each character, and part of that is because, first of all, I'm trying to jam 15 characters into this whole video while still making it slightly watchable for viewers who don't have that much time. But also, I didn't come up with full-fledged out ideas of how each boss battle could work. I came up with a couple that are like that, which I'll talk about later, but these are just some ideas of attacks that they could have. I'd imagine that the devs would make them some really fun boss battles, and I really do look forward to seeing what they come up with. All of these villains are villains that I personally love, apart from maybe Voldemort, since I, again, haven't seen that movie. I just think that he's too iconic to not leave in. So I'd really love to see some of these characters get in, and I did want to spread awareness on some lesser known villains that are included in this video. With that, let's get into our next character. The next character is from a movie that I watched recently, that movie being Pan's Labyrinth. If you've never heard of this movie, don't be surprised. The reason is probably because the whole movie is in Spanish. I decided, however, to watch the whole movie with subtitles, and I really did enjoy it. The movie is distributed by Warner, and I think the villain pulled from it should be the Pale Man. This is actually one of the characters that I think should just be a boss and not a playable character, as I personally think that Fawn should be the playable Pan's Labyrinth rep. I think Pale Man would probably be one of the easiest bosses to defeat. This is because he can only see out of his hands, which is a very interesting design choice. I think you would defeat Pale Man by attacking him from by either above or behind. You do not want to get up close in front of Pale Man, as he will grab you and kill you. Some of you may think this is a bit drastic, having him insta-kill you as soon as he grabs you. But think of how easily you could get behind him and rack up damage and kill him. I think it could be a good boss battle that could be towards the beginning of the storyline, as I'd imagine the bosses slowly get harder as the storyline advances. I'd love to see Pan's Labyrinth represented in this game, and I think that a boss would be an amazing way to do so. The next character that I would like to see would have to be Agent Smith from the Matrix series. I'd imagine he would be a pretty difficult boss, as he is very menacing in the Matrix. Plus, there are so many of them. I think for the boss battle there could just be one, as one is enough to be a difficult boss. He could use his gun and his martial arts to fight against you. Plus, his super speed has a lot of potential. Take this scene for instance. Agent Smith can punch incredibly fast. I'd imagine this could be shown somehow in MultiVersus. It would make him challenging, but also a cool boss. It would be one of the boss battles where you don't have to worry so much about the timer, but you have to worry about actually being killed. Before I talk about the next character, I just wanted to mention what I was imagining the story mode could look like, or at least how all the bosses fit in. I'd imagine that somehow throughout the storyline you get sent from dimension to dimension. Coming with a dimension is a boss. There would also probably be other challenges to do in a dimension, but the boss battle would be the main focus. It would also be neat if all of these villains actually met each other and were teaming together for the storyline. Seeing such beloved villains all together on the same screen would be really awesome, and I'd be all for it. I wish I could say, and speaking of beloved, we have so-and-so. But the next character isn't that beloved. Not because people don't like him, but because people don't know about him. That character being Synonymous Botch from the movie Twice Upon a Time. I covered this movie in a video here. If you are interested in watching it, please go watch it. I think Botch is an awesome villain, and I'd love to see him in MultiVersus. I imagine his boss battle being a bit different from the other ones. I imagine it taking place in his booby-trapped lair. I think the stage in which you fight on would move, as in the camera moving and panning across the whole stage. You, as the player, have to advance to the right to try to reach Botch, all while he is shooting at you with his cannons and attacking you with his booby traps. Maybe to take it a step further, you could have his crow minions come and drop nightmare bombs on you. Unless, however, you can attack and kill the crow before it reaches you. If you do get a bomb dropped on you, the screen locks where it is and you can't advance any further. All of a sudden, the booby traps around you come to life and start attacking you, similar to the nightmare bomb scene from the movie where office supplies come to life. Once you defeat all the booby traps, you can then continue moving further towards Botch. Once you reach Botch, he is very easy to kill. If you can't tell, I put a decent amount of thought into this. I think this would be a fun boss, as it is less attacking and more dodging things. It would change up the pace a little bit and could be a very fun boss battle. With that, we only have 6 characters left to cover. The next I'd like to cover is Audrey 2 from The Little Shop of Horrors. Firstly, I think Audrey would be an amazing playable character from MultiVersus, but he could also make a fantastic boss. I think his boss level idea could be taken from this scene here. I think he could send some roots under the stage out towards the player. They would then suddenly sprout up next to them, attacking them. Audrey himself could also shoot a gun and use his vines to grab and attack you. Maybe for his battle there is no timer, but rather a health meter for Audrey. You can then try to rack up damage on him, but he will grab you with his vines and throw you back towards the other side of the screen. His whole goal is to keep you away from him so that he can shoot you and attack you with his root shoots. I think this could be a very fun boss battle and include a very fun character. The next character I'd love to see would have to be Thrax from Osmosis Jones. Thrax is a very menacing villain who goes around quite literally killing people. Osmosis Jones is basically a movie that takes place in the stomach. Osmosis is a white blood cell and Thrax is a virus. Thrax goes around killing humans that he comes into contact with. I think Thrax would be a very powerful boss, who would be able to use his claws to slash and damage players. He also has some sort of heat powers that he could use in MultiVersus. Similar to Agent Smith, the clock isn't what you have to worry about for his character. It's dying. He could also use the pollen balls to attack you. I think Thrax would be a very neat boss for MultiVersus, and I'd love to see him included. One of the things that I love most about MultiVersus is the fact that it can bring recognition to movies that not everybody may know about. And one movie, aside from Twice Upon a Time, that I'd like to see be recognized would have to be Cats Don't Dance. Something unique about this boss battle is that the boss is actually a duo character, so it's really bosses. Those characters being Max and Darla Dimple. Max is a huge character, while Darla is a small character. I think this makes them a very interesting boss battle. I think Max would hold Darla in his hands, or she could cling onto his back or shoulder or something. They would take turns fighting the player. Max would deal a lot of damage, but be very slow. Darla would deal a little damage, but her attacks were a lot faster. I think the devs could have a lot of fun making them work as bosses, and I think that their boss battle would look amazing visually as well. Seeing the two characters fight against you would be something that I'd really love to see, and I hope that they do get included at some point. Next, we have what is probably the hardest boss out of all the ones that I have covered so far. This boss being a mimic from the movie Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow is a fantastic movie, by the way. I'd highly recommend it. Again, I'm about to spoil some things, so feel free to skip forward if you want to. The mimics are the aliens of the movie. They are insanely fast-moving characters who are able to slice and kill you. In the movie, the main character, William Cage, relives each day after he dies. He slowly learns the patterns of the mimics and uses that to beat them. I think this is how the boss battle should work. It is very hard, and the only way to win is by memorizing the pattern. which, yes, means the boss battle is a set-in-stone thing beforehand. It's different from some of the other ones where a computer controls the bosses and attacks at random. The mimics don't attack at random. They do the same thing every time you fight them. This means the only way to beat them is to memorize their patterns to attack and kill them. I think this is a great way of making it feel very accurate to the movie while having a really awesome boss battle as well. The next character, and the second to last of this video, are the Martians from Mars Attacks. I think their difficulty would be the sheer amount of them that there would be. In the movie, there are quite a bit of Martians that attack Earth. They use ray guns that can melt human bodies. I think there could be a decent amount of Martians scattered around the stage, all shooting, trying to hit you. You win the battle by killing all the Martians. It's fairly simple, but yet it would be also pretty difficult to avoid getting hit by the ray guns. I think this allows for another Warner property to have representation and allow for a fun boss battle in the process. That brings us to our last character. I've purposely saved him for last, as I would love to see him be the main villain of this game. That character being Lord Vortek from LEGO Dimensions. I loved LEGO Dimensions, and the premise of uniting worlds is so similar. I think it would be so neat to have this character return, but this time he could be more powerful and a worthy villain. He has to be powerful if he's the last one. I imagine him having the ability of opening portals and sending minions after you. He also can shoot lasers out of his eyes. I think the devs could take some creative liberties to make him much more menacing than his LEGO Dimensions counterpart. I think it would be an awesome way of showing love for a previous game made by Warner, while also tying the worlds colliding theme together. With that, I think I'll end the video here. There are so many other characters that I chose not to include in this video that I think would make amazing bosses. Due to Warner having such a vast amount of properties to choose from, we could have a big amount of very unique boss battles along with a story mode. I'm very excited to see the direction the devs decide to go if they do make a story mode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it, even if it was a bit different than some of my recent videos. If you have anything you'd like to add, feel free to let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing, as it would encourage me to make future content. Next week I plan to release another MultiVersus related video, so if that sounds exciting, look forward to that. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next week.